Morning, everyone. I'm at about 3 miles from our house, one of our favorite autumn spots. But it was on this date, October 26, in 1825, that one of the great long-distance transportation projects in our country was completed. The Erie Canal, which connected the Hudson River Valley to the Great Lakes. This map of the Appalachians reminds us that up at the north is a narrow bit of the range. People thought maybe we can cross the Appalachians here. So this map of the colonial road system reminds us that there were few places to cross the Appalachians. And this was a big deal as people wanted to move west. So how about the Mohawk River Valley? Well, that would be cool, partly because it goes west, but also it connects to the Hudson. And from the Hudson you can get to the Atlantic. But there's a big problem with connecting to the Great Lakes, and that is that Lake Erie is 600 feet above sea level. How do you raise a boat in the 1820s 600 feet? Well, you build locks. They estimated it would take at least 50. The cost was seen as way out in outer space. Nobody was going to pay for this. But here's DeWitt Clinton. He's the governor of New York. He's an old-time politician. He thinks it's doable. He gets legislation through the New York legislature. He gets other sources of funding. And he raises the money to build it. It's called Clinton's Folly until it's built. And then it becomes almost immediately successful. This map of the original route reminds us they did not go to Lake Ontario. You'd think they would, but because of Niagara Falls, a boat couldn't get to Lake Erie that way, so they had to go to Lake Erie directly. The instruments they used to survey and lay out the route by today's standards are quite simple, but they did a really good job. It's remarkable how good a job the engineers did. There were many challenges building the canal. One was getting laborers. Many came from Ireland. Another was getting rid of the fill. Once you dig out the dirt, you've got to put it somewhere. Lots of forest had to be cut. They needed laborers for that. And another fascinating one was what happens when the canal needs to cross a river? Well, you build an aqueduct, and here's one over the Mohawk River in Schenectady. There's another one in downtown Rochester over the Genesee River. And there are a bunch of these aqueducts that they built. Another challenge was going over the Niagara Escarpment, that rocky formation represented by red on this map. And it's the rocky formation the Niagara River goes over to give us Niagara Falls. So as you get closer to Lake Erie, how do you raise the boats over this rocky formation? Well, they did it in Lockport, New York, pictured here, where a series of locks, like stair steps, raised the boats or lowered them, dealing with the Niagara Escarpment. And today in Lockport, you can see the original Erie Canal locks on the right, next to the one lock of the New York State Canal System, which took over the Erie Canal later. Now this is downtown Buffalo back then. Buffalo was a sleepy little town. The Erie Canal made it into a major city here. You can see the Erie Basin. And today in Buffalo, here a map of modern Buffalo, you notice the Buffalo River at the bottom, which was incorporated into the canal. I guess they're trying to uncover part of that original Erie Canal waterfront, but definitely made Buffalo into a major player. So here's our event, October 26, 1825. Here's DeWitt Clinton pouring water from Lake Erie into the Hudson. So big deal for him. Now there are some ruins of the original Erie Canal here and there. Here's an aqueduct, which you can see if you decide to go for a little walk. And there are a bunch of these. As you drive east on the New York Thruway, you can see this lock. And they did change the route from time to time. Here's another lock that's been abandoned. You can hike to it. But there are all kinds of tourist guides to the Erie Canal if you want to find these things. And I recommend it. And you can bicycle along the Erie Canal. And part of the charm of this is you get to see some of the original canal that wasn't widened when they did widening in the years that followed. So rural New York still has lots of remnants of the Erie Canal worth seeing, a reminder of that great engineering project of long ago.